Hi, this is Jim Jamieson from Province Sports. Last week, new Canucks GM Jim Benning talked about how he felt the Canucks were close to turning it around and getting back to becoming a playoff team. This week, myself and Ben Kuzma, my colleague on the Canucks beat, looked at 6 issues the Canucks have to look at that could turn them around into being that playoff team. I looked at 3. First was the enigma of Daniel Sedin, the Swedish twin that's had such a tough couple of years. This past season was very difficult for Daniel. He had a good first month, but it just absolutely really fell off after that. I think the key is going to be to get Daniel going, and I think to get him back to his regular point totals. I mean, his point totals this year sort of prorated to around 50 points, which is well off of where he was when he won a scoring title 3 years ago with 104 points. So I think what they need to do with Daniel is really the key is to get the Sedins going. They have to give them better deployment, cut down their ice time to previous totals, give them better offensive zone starts, percentages so that they play more in the offensive zone than they were previously. After that, I think if they can go out and get a goal-scoring winger in free agency to play on the line with the Sedins, this will make up for the fact that Daniel's no longer an elite goal scorer. He's still a very good player. He's still a great setup man. I think that would be a way to prolong both he and Henrik's careers and still have them be very good players, very contributing players offensively to the team moving forward. And it would certainly help the team rebound into from a team that really had trouble scoring goals, either even strength or on the power play this year. Point number 2 I dealt with was beefing up the bottom 6. Jim Benning talked also about getting more physicality, more grit on the bottom 6. He laughed about the Boston model, but really the Boston model is just about having more depth and having players that can play in your bottom 6 and play 8 to 10 minutes a game and spread that ice time out so your really top offensive players are rested and don't get worn out over the course of the game and can be their best near the end of the game if the game's close. So I looked at the Canucks bottom 6, and I think if they're deployed properly, they have the pieces there to have a good bottom 6. They probably need to add 1 or 2 players, which I think Jim Benning, has a depth of knowledge about the American Hockey League, can look at that, and he can see teams every summer they opt not to re-sign 25-year-olds who are in their prospect chain, and he can look at players who he thinks could be turned into good role players in a bottom 6 situation. I think that's what you'll see Jim Benning doing. Also, getting onto the NTCs, the no-trade clauses, they were clear last week, Trevor Linden and Jim Benning, regarding no-trade clauses. They will go after players and go up to them and say, yeah, would you waive it? They have 10 players with no trades. I think that it'll be very interesting to see what they do. This is an opportunity for them to be more flexible and to make more trades and to freshen up the core. Certainly, Ryan Kessler is reported to have made himself available to be traded, waive his clause. Alex Edler's name has come up. Jason Garrison. Who knows, they may even ask Dan Hamhuis, although I doubt it. But I mean, Dan Hamhuis would be a guy who would have the highest trade value because he had a very good year, won an Olympic gold medal. It's going to be a very interesting season. Jim Jamieson for Province Sports.